One of the top things for people to consider when coming to Southwest Florida is, do I want to live on the water? So today we're going to talk a little bit about what each of those types of water are like and what it means to your life. Hey everybody, my name's Craig Cunha. I am a real estate agent in Southwest Florida. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know more about what it's like to live, play, eat, sleep, and buy real estate on the Gulf Coast, then this is the channel for you. So go ahead and subscribe and even comment down below so that you're sure to see all the future videos as they come out. I'm getting calls from people every day asking information about what it's like to move here and how their experience is going to be and what I can do to help them, and I absolutely love it. So if you've got a question that you want an answer to, you've got to call, text, or email because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast. All right, so today we're going to talk about Southwest Florida as a whole and the different types of waterfront living. We are surrounded by water in many ways. You can see the lakes on the maps, you can see the canals. Many of them are ponds. I'm from Pennsylvania. We call them ponds up there as much of the north does, so don't be disappointed when they're little and tiny and just give you a little separation from the neighbors, but that's there as well. So the first thing you have to do is consider the type of water you want behind you and the usage that you're going to get out of it. So those properties that do have the lakes, ponds, or even small canals, they are specifically for giving you space from your neighbors and a little bit of privacy and possibly a view. Many of the ponds around the different communities will have water fountains in them, so it can be a nice experience, gives that nice ambiance with the sound. But I think most waterfront seekers in our area are looking for experiences. So this is where we have to really decide, what am I going to do with this space? If you're looking in Cape Coral, much of the canals are freshwater. With the freshwater canal, you aren't going to get out to the Gulf, so don't ask. Yes, you can have a boat. It's probably going to be a smaller boat because the canals may not be as deep in the freshwater areas or maintained quite the same way. The other thing is there's something called a weir, and this is where it separates the freshwater from the saltwater, so you will not be getting out into the saltwater. Well, let me correct that. You could probably work your way out to it because the weir drops down into the saltwater, but you're not coming back out again. So the weir is there to separate it. You cannot go back and forth from freshwater to saltwater. Now, one of the huge advantages to a freshwater canal or lake is there's no speed limit. So if you're on a saltwater canal, there is absolutely a 5-mile-an-hour no wake zone, and it's to protect both the properties and the wildlife like the manatees that could be in those canals. So please watch your speed. If you are caught being over that, you will be fined. Now, when I'm talking about having no speed limit in the lakes and canals, that means you can take a jet ski, you can take your bass boat, you can take whatever you want, run at full speed at your own risk, because there could be tree branches and things like that underneath you, but there is no speed limit. It would be courteous to watch for properties around you. If people have boats on in the water on their properties, it's a courtesy thing. Obviously, we're lacking that a bit these days, but that's something that you could do for your neighbors. But there is nothing that says you can't do it. Now, also, there's 2 passes that you can have. I've got them both because we like to kayak in the freshwater. The yellow sticker is the one that allows to go in all the boat ramp areas of Cape Coral, and that's an annual pass. I want to say it was $45 if I remember correctly. Then there is a blue pass. This is one that will get you into many other boat ramps around Lee County, and this is for saltwater access. So you can park your boat and trailer in these lots after putting the boat in, and there is no charge beyond this sticker. It's an annual pass. I want to say that one's $60 for the year. You can also go to many parks and put your kayaks in those same launches and boat ramp areas and park there, and once again, there's no charge for it. So if you're somebody that does it often, that could be a huge benefit for you. Now, since we talked about the freshwater, let's talk about the Gulf access. I've got a lot of questions lately regarding the canal sizes and how big their docks can be and all that type of stuff. So there's a lot of information to try to share here. I'll do as good as I can. Might have some links down below that could help out with further information. But a few things I did find out. Number one, Cape Coral and Fort Myers, the seawalls are maintained by the owners. So if there's damage to them, it's on you. If you go up to the Punta Gorda, Port Charlotte area, it's figured into the taxes for all the people up there. So when their seawalls have issues, the city repairs it for them or replaces it, trims back mangroves, dredges the canals. All of that is part of their package. So if you want to know that you have that security and that peace of mind, and you don't mind living in a little smaller town, maybe Port Charlotte or Punta Gorda will be for you. Stay tuned in the coming weeks. I'm going to have a video about Port Charlotte and Punta Gorda and what it's like to live there. There's a lot of nice things to share with you about that, but that's not what this video is about. So what I did find out furthermore about the canals here, if you're putting a dock into the back of your home, there's not one there yet, you can only go out 25% of the distance of the width of that canal, or 40 feet, whichever's less. So from your seawall, you can't go out any further than 40 feet. That's the max. And if 25% turns out to be less than that, that's how far out you can go with your dock. Now, with building these docks, you can only go out across your property to 12 feet away from the property line on either side. So if you're going to go out that 25% or 40 feet, again, you have to come back off the property lines from the sides, 12 feet on each side. If you do a captain's walk only goes out 6 feet from the seawall. That can run the entire length of the property. I will be attaching a link down below that gives some of the guidelines about dock building and what the city expects. It will be a permitted thing, so you'll have to get permission up front to have it done properly. So don't just jump in there thinking you can get it done. There'll be things that'll kind of guide you along the way, but check the link down below for all the information on that. Another thing to consider is bridges and the width of the canals for the type of boat you're going to have. I have a client that's coming from California. He has a 30-foot boat right now with, I believe, like a 10-foot beam. He's going to be going to a 50-foot catamaran that has a 25-foot beam. So that changes things exponentially, as you can imagine. So he's not going to get under any of the bridges, and most of the canals he's not going to be able to navigate. So he's got to be on one of the extra wide canals or on direct waterfront. Now, that's something to consider. Not everybody's going to have a boat that size, but you also want to make sure that in your boating skills, whatever level you are, that you're going to be able to maneuver your boat properly in the canal space that you're given. One other thing that can be kind of short-sighted when you're looking at Gulf access property is not all bridges can be accessed with certain size boats. There is a section of property that's just north of Veterans Parkway that unfortunately still ties into the water to call it Gulf access. And more unfortunate is some real estate agents will call it Gulf access, but you're not getting anything under there outside of a flats boat. It's not happening. So ask your agent to be upfront about what that means for you navigating your boat, or you could get stuck. On average, bridge heights are about 9.5 feet. There are some differences depending on where you're going within the area. So there is a map. It does have a general guideline on there, but also be aware of tide changes. It does sometimes affect some of the canals. Lastly, you want to look and see if there's locks. Is there a lock you're going to have to get through? I found another lock up in Port Charlotte. An entire huge subdivision is affected by it, and the commute to get to it is just as bad as a lock. So we do have a lock here in Cape Coral down in the southwest corner. It's probably one of the biggest gripes that these boat owners have in that area, but there's nothing you can do about it. At this time, that lock exists. It can be slow going on holidays and weekends, so if you want to have no trouble with it, you might want to schedule it so that you go off hours, or there is this window of time that you can get in and out with the lock being completely open. It happens on either side of high and low tide. I believe it's 30 minutes to the front and the back ends of high and low tide, so the gates will stay open and you can traverse them without, unless there's traffic coming from the other direction, you can just go back and forth through it. There will be somebody still there manning that gate just in case, but if you time it properly, you may find it an easy flow straight through. Now, with waterfront living, there's also beaches to consider. Yes, beaches are a completely different lifestyle. Do you want to just walk straight out on it? Do you want it across the street? There's a number of things to consider, but also beaches, as you can imagine, lower sea level. So if you're getting a single family home, you could be paying very high insurances, normally going to pay higher taxes. Condos, you're not going to be quite as affected by it, but again, taxes, that's not going to change things, still going to be very expensive. Yes, you'll have that lifestyle, you'll be looking at the Gulf, you'll walk out onto white sands, but there's a cost to that lifestyle. If that's something you're interested in, we have plenty of it. Now, with this waterfront living, there's also storage to consider. So there's a number of ways to do it. You've got trailering, which then you have to find a place to put your trailer and your boat. Many places, like in Cape Coral, you can put that on your property. There's just a few guidelines you have to follow. There's also some storage facilities that you can park on their property, but it's not protected or covered. So you're going to want a boat cover in those situations. Then we have what they call a high and dry. It's basically a condo for your boat. So in these cases, there will be a monthly charge to it. They are all variable, and it can change based upon the contract you have at the time. Availability can also be a big issue. So if you know this is the way you want to go ahead and get your request in sooner than later. Also, think in advance. If you're going to use a high and dry and you want to go out on a holiday or weekend and you know it's going to be a beautiful weekend, you've heard a lot of people saying I'm taking the boat out, call ahead to schedule them putting your boat in the water, and don't be late, because those schedules for them are super tight. There's a lot of people wanting to use that service. You've got to be there on time. You've got to put the request in ahead of time if you want to ensure a seamless day on the water. We also have wet slips that you can get into in a number of marinas. Some of them, again, are affected by a lock. Many of them are not. Those rates are variable. It's usually done by the foot, but they offer electric and water at the dock, so you do have some extra services by doing it this way. Unfortunately, it's normally for bigger boats, and those boats also have additional maintenances like cleaning of the bottom of the boat and other things like that to consider. So if that's your route, there's lots of options. You're gonna have to shop around because there's many things to consider when getting a boat in a wet slip. And one of them is something we probably should have talked about before. When you pick your location, understand where you're going to be taking your boat. Because if somebody wants to go to Fort Myers Beach a lot and they buy a property in Port Charlotte, that's a long ride down if that's where you're going to be going all the time. That's the advantage of trailering. You can take it to many different boat ramps so that you can change those locations easy. But if you're storing your boat in one location or you're buying a home in a certain location with this Gulf access, keep in mind, where am I going to be going most often and how is that going to affect my trip? Lastly, if you're looking for another option for a slip or dockage that you haven't found anywhere else, there's something called snagaslip.com. And this seems to be a nationwide service, but go ahead and type in the location you're looking for and you'll see listings in there just like you'd find on Marketplace or you'd find on Craigslist. It's kind of neat to have that service available, but if you're having trouble finding something that fits your needs, try snagaslip.com. Something else you're going to want if you're going to be boating in Southwest Florida is Sea Tow or Boat USA. Yes, every boater that's ever had a bad experience, got stuck, broke down, whatever that is, they wish they had Sea Tow because it's very expensive to get towed back in if you don't have that service. There is their gold service that is $179 for the year. That's something you may want to consider doing just to protect yourself. Small amount of money, big amount of protection. Also, because the fact that we are a waterfront community here, there are multiple venues to pull up to if you want to enjoy what they're offering. The Boathouse is one of the main ones here in Cape Coral. There's also Rum Runners that sits right outside of that lock that we've been talking about. Tarpon Point's down there also with the Naughty Mermaid and Marker 92. Lots of options in this area. You'll find a number of them over in Fort Myers Beach. You can wrap around to the Intercoastal on the back side of the beach and dock over there and kind of make your way around the downtown area, or town center as they call it for Fort Myers Beach. Also, when you venture up into the Punta Gorda area, the places like Harpoon Harry's, and I can't seem to remember the other name of the restaurant that's on the Fisherman's Village, but they have multiple docking spots up there. They have their own marina. You can get over to the Lashley Marina to go ahead and enjoy the Lashley Crab House. So there's a lot of things you can do. Out in the islands, out for Captiva and Sanibel, there's a number of locations there. Cabbage Key's out there, Kea Costa. You've got lots of venues to visit when you're out on the water. Something we probably should have talked about earlier too is when you're making this decision about a boat, do you want to own it? Do you want to be in a boat club, or would you like to rent? So if you own a boat, obviously you know all the expense goes on you, all the maintenance, everything. So choose wisely. As far as boat clubs, you normally pay an initiation fee, roughly $5,000 or $6,000. Then you pay a monthly fee based on the type of boat that you want. With this, you have to also schedule in when you're going to want to use the boat, and keep in mind, holidays, weekends, usually busier, so get your requests in ahead of time. As far as renting, the whole thing about scheduling that applies the same way. When it's busy, everybody wants to do it. But with renting, you're paying about $300 for, say, a 20-foot Hurricane, a deck boat. You're paying that $300 for the day, and that's from like 9 to 4. You're going to pay for the gas that you use also when you return, but this is the easiest way to be out on the water with no responsibility, outside of keeping it in usable condition when you return it. But the cleaning and everything that goes along with it, that's on the owners. So you go enjoy your time on the water and let them take care of it when you come back. Well, another thing that should be discussed about the canal system, if you're looking for Gulf access, is how long do you want your commute to be? There's some people that literally have a commute of 45 minutes plus to get to open water. If that's not what you're looking for, then choose wisely with the home, because that's not going to change. Whether there's a lock or not, the distance you're commuting at 5 miles an hour, it's going to take some time. So try to find out in advance what that really looks like, and if it's something that you think you can do or that you know you don't want to do. Obviously, with all this water around us, there's some absolutely great fishing. You'll see people posting pictures of their catch constantly, and yeah, it makes you envious sometimes, because I don't have that kind of luck when I go out. But right there at the Boca Grande Pass, that is the tarpon fishing capital of the world. There are boats on top of boats on top of boats. So if you like fishing like that, there's plenty of it here. One last piece of advice. I wouldn't imagine it would be this way, but many people I'm hearing are finding their boats out of state. It's more expensive to buy a boat in Florida than, say, North Carolina. Same boat, same condition. They're finding it cheaper. Yes, they have to have it trailered down or go grab it themselves, but it's less money in other states. So if you're really frugal and looking for a great deal, don't rely on it just being a local purchase. Look around a little bit. You may find the deal of a lifetime. Okay, so that's a little bit about living on the water in Southwest Florida, some of the things you can expect. But if you have any questions for me, you can either watch one of the other videos to find out a little bit more about what it's like to live here, or you've got to call, text, or email, because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.